President Obama is applauding the Pentagon's decision to allow women to serve in combat. The commander-in-chief says he is confident the groundbreaking move will strengthen the American military. The Secretary of Defense, Leon Panetta, and the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, Martin Dempsey, signed the new policy yesterday. It revokes a ban that prevented women soldiers from serving in frontline combat units and special forces. Secretary Panetta pointed out that both men and women are already putting their lives on the line to protect the country.
Every time I've visited the war zone, every time I've met with troops, reviewed military operations, and talked to wounded warriors, I've been impressed with the fact that everyone, men and women alike, everyone is committed to doing the job. They're fighting and they're dying together. And the time has come for our policies to recognize that reality.
Well, joining us now is retired Major Mike Lyons, CBS News Military Analyst. Mike, good morning. Thanks for joining us. So I got to ask you, your initial reaction when you heard that the Department of Defense would be lifting this ban on women in combat.
Yeah, I was surprised. And usually I kind of plugged into the network, but the network didn't give me any indication that was going to happen this week or at this point in time. But now that the debate's over, women can now apply for these positions over time. And I think to the Secretary's point and to General Dempsey's point, it's about fairness. It's about giving them the opportunity to actually compete for these very tough jobs.
Do you think that this is an idea whose time has come, essentially, that things have evolved to the point where it's time to do this?
Yeah, I think we've run out of bad ideas to keep it from happening. And people look around and they think that, you know, they've probably evolved on their thoughts about it. I'm probably for one. I think that 10 years ago, and having been in combat as well, it might have been too difficult. But I also was back at West Point back in the early days when women were at the military academy, and I saw how well they integrated with the Corps cadets back then. I think they'll go back and look to see what happened there and do the same thing here. But I've come around to it well, and I think it's the right thing to do.
You've served on the front lines. What sort of challenges do you think women will face specifically to them?
Yeah, it's going to just all be about stamina, and it's not just women, it's men. Men have the same issue. You know, there's a hygiene issue. There's all this, you know, physical fitness, of course, but it's just all about, you know, you get up every day, there's long days. Now, look at conventional warfare as it once was versus what it is now, asymmetrical. We don't know where the enemy is. The enemy is not necessarily in front of us. It's unbounded by geography, doesn't wear a uniform. Women already are in combat doing these kinds of things. You know, all they're going to be able to do is have more responsibility that'll give them more opportunity going forward. I
want to address, you know, you talked a little bit about the physical requirements, and of course, you know, whether you're a man or a woman, you're going to have to deal with that. But what about this whole idea of unit cohesion? That's been the ongoing argument for years. Yeah, that's going to be a leadership issue, and that's where this is going to be very challenging for the leadership. And there'll be people that won't be on board with this, and there'll be bumps in the road, I'm sure. But, you know, it's going to take great leadership from the small unit tactics. It's probably starting at the platoon level, the small unit, 30 to 35 men and women now in these combat units. And it's going to be important that you know, they are together and they're on board with what's happening. You take platoons, they make companies, they make battalions, and then you have an effective fighting force. You take all those systems together, you put great leadership on it, and then you have a combat force that can win. Right, you start with the smaller units and work your way up, right? Yeah, that's what it's going to take, and again, strong unit. It's the kind of the younger generation again, those first, second lieutenants, you know, that are already more accustomed to it. This is their generation that embraced, that threw out "Don't ask, don't tell." This is the generation that stepped up, volunteered after 9/11. I'm confident the same generation will do the same thing and overcome all these obstacles. Retired Major Mike Lyons, CBS News Military Analyst. Thanks for joining us this morning. Thanks for having me.